X's and O's is in the air with Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell off the bye week. Just as an aside, before we get into some things, how was the Padres game? I mean, I only saw it on social media. There you are, up on the jumbotron. Looked like a packed house at Petco or whatever they call it. Now, granted, they didn't advance past the Dodgers, but that looked fun.
It was an absolute blast. Now, not only did they not advance, they from the time I stepped foot in the ballpark to the end of that series, they did not score another run.
Oh, geez.
So I don't know if they're going to invite me back.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that the Padres, with where you went to high school and everything, and college, is that like one of your favorite teams? Baseball team for sure, but
yeah, I can.
Or was it just an opportunity here?
I can remember. When I was in high school and the first of my buddies that got his license, we got the great idea to, we may or may not have left school a little early one day. The Padres were playing the Giants, and we went and sat in the outfield there at old Jack Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
And we may or may not have been enjoying some sun, shirts off.
Good for you.
Not in school, and Barry Bonds hit a home run about 5 rows away from us, and my buddy runs over and gets the ball. And I go home that night. My parents asked me, how was school?
Yeah.
I said it was great. And right over my dad's shoulder, I see my buddy on the, the local news that night. I see my buddy holding the ball up in the air and, tried to distract everybody from looking up there and seeing me. Not where I was supposed to be, but it was, I absolutely grew up. I got to know Tony Gwynn. At San Diego State. He was the manager of the baseball team, and I would always park in his parking spot when I was late for class. So Tony and myself got pretty close. I absolutely loved the man.
Yeah.
He was a phenomenal human being. And so anytime I get a chance to support the Padres, I know a lot of the folks in the front office, and they've got a lot of what I found out on this trip, they have a lot of Padre fans. Vikings fans on their roster.
Oh, okay.
A lot of fantasy football players. Whether it was Tatis or Machado, they all wanted. They had plenty of Justin Jefferson questions for me, and how we're going to use him moving forward. So it was fun. It was a really fun, quick trip. Got to spend the rest of the week and weekend with the family. It was very much needed.
I have one Justin Jefferson question for you coming up a little later. But first, there were some NFL oddities that took place over the weekend. What's going on, John? Wife and kids great? Cool. Some oddities that I'd like to address with you, if you don't mind. First and foremost, you're okay with this?
Absolutely.
Some oddities until you hear them? Cool. Coach Jim Harbaugh with the L.A. Chargers. He left the field Sunday at Denver, then he returned. So fortunately, we don't have any problems here. If you don't mind me asking, who takes over here if something like that happens with you? Where I don't know, altitude, whatever, you got to leave for like 20 minutes, then come back.
Yeah, well, with Mike Pettin being our assistant head coach, but he's up, for a lot of the year, he's up top in the booth.
Oh, wow.
So it would more than likely be Flo.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be Flo.
I was going to guess Pettin because Flores calls the defense and everything. But okay, cool.
I'm sure Pet would help manage the game. Flo's obviously managed football games before. It would just be who would I be handing the challenge flag to?
Right, and you'd be trying to get back fast too, right?
That's exactly right.
With all due respect to them, but I mean that's what you live for, man. You're really good at it. Secondly, for the Bears, tight end Cole Kmet caught a couple of touchdowns. And also with Chicago's emergency long snapper. All right, so their long snapper, Scott Daly, went down.
Yep.
So Kmet caught 2 touchdowns, snapped the extra point on those, plus 3 others. The emergency long snapper here, do you care to share, or is that like too deep in the intel?
No, we, historically it's been Nick Muse.
That's
but he's
right.
been down a little bit right now, so we've had a kind of a rotating.
Yeah. What is it with tight ends?
I think they got good hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
They normally, Muse has a bunch of talents that our fans maybe don't know about, including his social media prowess. But yeah, it would be Nick, and then we have a few other guys, a couple linemen. I'm sure Ivan Pace would be clamoring to say he could do it as well.
Right.
Whether it's playing quarterback, running back, tight end, receiver, corner. I mean, Ivan says he can do just about anything.
For the Lions over the weekend, old Ben Johnson had that Lions offense humming out of the bye, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That was impressive. Yeah, that was, Ben does such a great job with that offense, and they're so balanced, and they, got the best O-line in football, 2 really good backs, a bunch of good receivers, and a really good tight end, and some other tight ends that serve really valuable jobs in that offense. And then I think Jared's just doing a heck of a job running the show, and he was the first pick in the draft for a reason. Big, tall guy, can throw it anywhere in the yard. So and then Ben does a great job kind of marrying it all together. You're going to see so many plays that start out looking the same, but they're different, and you got to be able to be really sound with the way you defend them. You got to stop the run and keep them out of 3rd and shorts, because they can run it on short yard, or 3rd and 5 or less. They'll run the ball, get explosives that way. They'll throw it over your heads to Jamison Williams if you let them. And then Amon-Ra, separates as well as anybody in the intermediate area. Tim Patrick showing up as well as kind of that number 3rd guy, Josh Reynolds type that they've seemed to always have. And then Laporta was really back healthy and showing up big time.
And I'm glad you framed it up the way you did, because with the Lions offense, despite the tricks and the double passes and Penei Sewell and that whole thing, at the core of what they want to do, running the football, I mean, that's incredibly important to setting. And granted, this is cliche. I mean, it's age old. But nevertheless, for them, how important is it getting that running game going to unfurl those tricks?
Yeah, it's everything for them, because, the play-action game is so lethal for them. And when they do that with the running game going, and you're having to deploy extra troops there at the line of scrimmage to stop, wide zone or some of their downhill runs, gap runs that they do, it just becomes really hard to defend it all, and puts a lot of stress on individual players within the defense, because they know how to attack you depending on what calls you're in. And like I said, I think it's really well put together. I think Ben does a great job, and I think those players, the detail they play with, the speed at which they play with, and then they're very powerful and can move you off the ball up front. So it's going to be a 4-quarter battle. We know that. We've got to play well in all 3 phases, knowing that they're going to be a very difficult offense to stop. But the way Flo and his guys have been playing and putting together game plans, going to be a really, really big-time matchup.
The Vikings rush defense out of the bye through the 5-0. 67 rushing yards per game, second best in the NFL. 3.6 yards per carry, second best. They've allowed 1 rushing touchdown, which is tops in the NFL, and 15 rushing first downs allowed rushing, which also is tops in the NFL. And speaking of the Lions, awful situation, with Aiden Hutchinson. He's so young and so tough. You just know he's going to bounce back.
Oh, he absolutely will, and I hate seeing that. I was actually with Brian Angelico and myself at my house, and we were kind of just doing some early game planning, talking through some things, and we were discussing 97 and the impact on, okay, what are we going to do if he's here? What are we going to do if he's there? Early downs, whatever it was, as that play happened, and just hate seeing it. I really, really have a lot of respect for how Aiden plays the game.
Yeah.
You can tell he's brought an entire, his own skill set is one thing, and how hard he plays. But he's just an absolute energy igniter for that whole team. And I know that I hope he has a fast recovery from that injury, and his spirits stay high, and I know he'll be back, hopefully as good as ever.
And we mentioned the Vikings are out of the bye week, the off week. Now they sprint 12. We have 12 of them, beginning with the Lions. Short week at the LA Rams after that. And speaking of the bye, we have a talk back for the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, giving it as a talk back day with the head coach, and here it is.
This is Andy from Elk River. Congrats on a great start to the season. My question for you today is, I'm wondering if you can bring us fans into what the bye week looked like for you and the coaching staff. How do you balance evaluating the first 5 games of the season and then looking forward to the rest of the season? And specifically, does this bye week feel any different, coming out playing such a big division rival in Detroit, and then 4 days later having another game against the Rams?
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, so first and foremost, what we do on the bye week is we obviously came out of our trip to London. We've got 5 games of inventory, so we take a look at everything. What are we doing well, not just in the previous game, but there were plenty of things we've got to fix and correct. and get better at from the previous trip to London's game against the Jets. But then we look at it, self-scouting. What are we doing with certain personnel on the field? Hey, what's it look like when Oliver Munt's in the game? What's it look like when C.J. Hammond, we're in 21? What's been our run pass? What's been the type of plays that we've run? What have we had success doing? How can we do those things more while also not, contributing greater to the tendencies that we've already shown? So that's the early part of it. And then you're trying to get your team healthy. We had a few guys here throughout the week that I was checking in on throughout the week, seeing where they're at leading into this week, and then figuring out, okay, my job as the head coach is not only – it is a huge game. It's a big – anytime you get an NFC North game at home, we want to – playing at home is a really, really important thing to us. Didn't think we particularly played well at home last year and really cost us in the grand scheme of things, and our fans deserve to show up to U.S. Bank Stadium expecting our best every time we get a chance to play there. We're 2 for 2 there so far. 2 good teams we've beaten at home, and we've got a really good one coming in. So we're going to need our fans to be at their very best come Sunday. But then you get a head start. They were on a bye when we were in London, and obviously you have the inventory of the first 4 games that they had. You pair all that information with what you saw on Sunday against the Cowboys, and you can really start getting ahead of the game plan to try to make sure that we got off to a really good start yesterday with a little bonus practice, starting to put the game plan in, and now we pick up full steam here with the players tomorrow. And it's all about what have you done? Great, you've had success. How do we do those things even better? How do we cover up some of our self-scout tendencies? But also there's a lot of things we can improve on as a football team, and that's really been the mentality of our team since day one of training camp, regardless of 5-0 or not. I told them yesterday, that means absolutely nothing.
Right.
We've got to continue to reinvent ourselves, continue to stay true to who we want to be as a team philosophy-wise, but I think this team's going to constantly be chasing improvement, and our best football is still out in front of us. I do believe that.
Kevin O'Connell, X's and O's and 9 to noon, and Vikings.com, in advance of the game against the Lions. First division game, not only for the Vikings, but any team in the division. Vikings and Lions, noon Sunday, KFAN. Do you prefer scheming for division teams, or doesn't it matter?
I don't think it matters. I think we just know these guys really well.
Yep.
We've played them more, our division teams more than we've played the other folks that we normally run into on the schedule. You can go back to things. A lot of times in these games, it's plays that maybe you ran against them a year or 2 ago, and how are you packaging it, knowing that maybe they're carding those up, practicing those things to try to stop that. So you build some things off of historically some of the things you've done against them. Now, every time we've played the Lions, we've gotten new defenses, maybe that hadn't shown up on tape. There's always a Justin Jefferson plan.
Right.
You think about it, T.J. Hockenson's a guy that was on their team the first time we ever played him. Then we have him for the second game in Detroit in 22, and then he basically gets to play a little more than a half against them last year in the first game. So T.J. hasn't really gotten to play them as much, so they've really never dealt with our full, our full group of skilled players. Arsenal, yeah, That's the word.
Yep. We'll need that together 12 years from now.
Yeah, and don't know
if we'll
have
18
TJ.
Years from now. Sorry,
Right.
18 I meant.
That's right.
Yeah,
We don't know if we'll have TJ or not yet. He had a great first day, kind of back on the field in London, and then had a great day yesterday, so he'll keep working. But so much of it, PA, is they know the things that we want to do. We know the base way that they like to play.
Yeah.
And then it's just the chess match.
Yeah, I love that.
From there, once the ball gets kicked off, of really trying to figure out exactly how we can try to gain some advantages. And they've got some really good players. They've gotten some really good young players in the secondary that I think they added. Carlton Davis, the safeties. I think Brian Branch is one of the really emerging young safeties in the league. He really does a lot of things for their defense. Anzalone's always a problem in the middle, and then they're very active along the front. Even, in their first game without Aiden Hutchinson, we're going to have to really block.
McNeil and Reeder.
Yeah, they're really good inside. Yep.
Now, Kevin, I love how you lay things out like that so honestly and just so you make it easy for football fans to understand because it truly is Aaron or Ben to Brian Flores. Okay, Brian, we know that you know that we know that you know that we know that you know that we know that it goes so deep. Then you got to change it during the game.
Yep.
But you just know into this game without Aiden Hutchinson, and I think one of their ancillary backup guys too, Kyle Pecco, a veteran. I don't think he's going to play either.
Yep.
But you know what it's going to be into the game. Everybody thinks our defense stinks without Aiden. Look at this offense. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this guy. Last 3 against us, he's averaging 10 a game, 185. Had a couple of TDs, 223 3 ago. Nobody believes in us, so they're going to come out with their hair on fire. But you know that too.
Yeah, and I know.
You know what I mean?
I know Dan. Dan's going to fire up that group, and they're gonna play for, make it about Aiden, and they're gonna play for him, and a lot of guys, trying to play maybe new roles or new impact positions, within the positions that they've already played.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's gonna come down to, you play a well-coached football team like this.
Yep.
It's gonna come down to core principal things. Turnovers are a huge stat
Massive.
metric.
I think you went -3 against him here last year.
Yeah, and we've really in the games we've struggled, to win against them. It's even last year at home. I mean, we ton of yards, all those things,
Yep.
great. But we gave them the football,
Yep.
including on with a chance to win it at the very end. We've got to try to possess the ball. We've got to try to make sure we don't give them anything easy. When they do have it on offense, our defense is going to have to make them drive it, try to eliminate the chunk plays, see if we can slow down that run game and try to get it to those weighty downs where then we can kind of flip the script a little bit on them. But unless you get them off balance, unless you get them a little bit behind the sticks where they want to be, they're incredibly comfortable playing that game, and it becomes an absolute 4-quarter war. We know it's going to be like that. It's going to come down to all the little things, PA, that make up, really playoff caliber football. You got to do those things well to give yourself a chance to win a game.
Yes, sir. What with the Jets game? What changed with the game for Sam after Jones departed?
I just think it was a matter of Aaron is such an impact player with so much hidden yardage. His ability to, a play that might be blocked for 3 or 4, he's getting 8, and we're 2nd and 2, and we're in a kind of attack mode. He makes a play in a one-on-one on a 3rd down versus a linebacker. Probably could have scored on the play if we lay that thing out there in front of him a little bit. He just has such an impact across the landscape of our offense. I don't know necessarily if that affected Sam as much as the rhythm of our offense.
Right.
We have a really freak turnover there where, Ty Chandler's caught 1,000 wide zones on toss plays, and we didn't catch that one, and it bounces off the turf, bounces right into the hands of a defender in stride. I thought that was one of the most impactful plays of the day, Sam Darnold getting that guy on the ground. Otherwise, that's 7 points. And then we kind of got out of rhythm. They've got a good front, Quinnen Williams and the gang, making us uncomfortable at times and getting some pressure on Sam. And I just thought overall the level the level of the pitch and catch that we've seen, guys getting hit in stride, guys separating versus some man coverage. They had 2 really good corners and they played some sticky coverage.
Mm-hmm.
We missed some chances for some guys that were open. And then on a couple of our completions we did have. I mean, they were big hits, but could they have been more? Could they have been the run off the field type of 70-yard touchdown if we hit a guy in stride?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's harder on himself than Sam. He's been here working. He had a great day yesterday, and he's got the complete confidence of everybody in this building that he's going to play great this Sunday.
And I ain't trying to be Vince Lombardi here or anything, but like when he went on that weird 11-step drop and Addison broke loose middle of the field, Jordan's going to score if Sam steps into it, but he didn't, and it's just so uncharacteristic of anything somebody like me had seen through the first 4 and change. And that's why I was just wondering, like, what's he thinking, with in that moment. But then what was super cool, pushing through it, gets Justin and Johnny Munch when you had to have it, just to quiet everything. So that counts as part of the equation too. Okay, how about this? every member of your secondary, like Theo Jackson's played a little bit, but every key member of your secondary who's playing the most has at least one interception. And all of your edge guys have 13 of the 20 sacks.
Yeah.
That's an awesome formula, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not always just the pressure looks. Now, the pressure looks have really generated some bad plays by the opposing side. We've took the ball away in some of those looks, but it's been some of the four-man rush, too. You know, Jonathan Grenard just flat out winning.
Yeah.
Van Ginkel. You know, Harrison Phillips has shown up a ton, winning versus, you know, one-on-ones inside and transition his rush from stopping the run to going to get the quarterback. And then the rush and coverage working together. And you go out and get Stephon Gilmore for plays like that, the game-finishing plays. We got a double on Garrett Wilson. He's singled up, and he ends up with the football when Aaron tries to throw, you know, one of his patented back shoulders right there.
Yeah.
Just vet against vet, and Steph with a huge play. I think our safeties has been huge, just the different ways we're using Harrison, Metellus, Bynum, and how they all kind of play off one another. I think Brian Murphy's, you know, been phenomenal. Maybe, you know, not always so easy to see, but when I watch it as the coach, I just see a guy that's tough. He's tackling. He's getting his hands on footballs. He's a really beacon of communication in there. And then I think Shaq continues to show up and bring a level of physicality, putting his hands on people. That is just really fun to see. And we're playing a lot of different coverages, a lot of different techniques, keeping people off balance. Flo and his guys are doing a great job.
And with Gilmore, it just shows how, like, when coaches preach, you always got to be ready. You never know, you never know, you never know, including Mullins coming in with that one pass, like to strike somebody out bottom of the 8th to get to the 9th. Wow, it's, you know, if somebody had the belief that he really fires fresh, well, we saw it right in front of us. But Gilmore, it's like Gilmore didn't get any action for like 2.5 games.
No.
So it's like I felt like in the locker room saying, well, I hope you brought a magazine out there. You needed something to do. But then all of a sudden, it's he's getting attacked all the time, you know, and coming through with it. So, man, it's the collaboration here has just been great. Lastly, with Andrew Van Ginkel and these interception touchdowns, like what impresses you with what you're seeing with these?
Well, first and foremost, to catch the footballs that he's caught, both the Giants one and the one against Aaron, just to physically make that play is pretty remarkable. But what people don't always see is, you know, it's either right before, you know, the TV copy cuts to that all 22 look before the play, or when I watch it, you know, up in my office and I see him assess the formation. Okay, I know what call we're in. They're in this formation. He peeks, he looks, he knows exactly what the answer to this pressure that we're bringing might just be. When that slide comes my way and I end up being the guy that's in charge of getting out underneath those throws, he's not just trying to be there with body presence. He's trying to anticipate catching the football. And when I tell you just the difficulty of those plays, the hand-eye coordination, to frame it up and even have a chance for that ball to be caught.
Yeah.
PA, it's unbelievable. And
the Giants ones, I mean, that's one of the more unbelievable things I've ever seen.
I'm telling you, you know, you might put 300 NFL players in that situation and the ball's not getting caught more than 4 or 5 times. I mean, it's just that's what he is. That's what he's always been in his career.
Yep.
It doesn't surprise me one bit. He got us a couple times in training camp doing the exact same thing. And you just, as an offensive coach, you're always thinking about it. You're thinking about, well, yeah, that looks good on the chalkboard, but 43 is going to be there. And we got to be aware of that because he can change the game. And my goodness, hasn't he brought something to our defense that, you know, it's really hard to put on paper. It's hard to really quantify. Absolutely love him.
You're fantastic. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.